how'd you get into extraction? Because back in the day, I was fucking mulching my trim. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you guys were doing shit with it.
That's an interesting story because basically, the outdoor swing was in full motion 2013, 2014. I mean, multiple pound plants were coming down in Humboldt and you saw for the first time kind of a saturated market, and I don't mean that by price drops or any of the drastic things we're seeing now, but you just saw a need for another kind of source of revenue. And there'd been hash in the past and in different ways, but no one had ever really commercialized it. And we had been growing outdoor on a scale to where it was like, man, like you said, just the composting all this shit just seems like a waste, and the open blasting thing, I mean, everybody did it, to try and to, made honey oil and things like that, but it never was palatable to me on a production level because it's so dangerous, and when the closed loop system came out and I learned about it, I was like, okay, now I can jive with this because it's not as dangerous, it's more efficient, and the product was coming out better, So I actually I commissioned a guy who was really, really good at shatter, and he had a brand later on that was pretty successful in California, and I knew he knew all the parts lists and everything because back then it was like dial-up internet, it was hard to source things, there was no parts lists, and it was super confusing to get all the equipment. So I got this guy who was kind of a mess. He was on probation. He needed freaking help, and I threw him in a barn with a Terp extractor closed loop system, super basic, and just started dumping trim on him, and was like, let's go, let's make shatter. And it was Blue Dream at the time, so it was super stable, and we just started pumping out slabs. And as that progressed, I kind of got bored with that pretty fast because we were kind of doing what everyone else was doing at that point because a lot of people came in line with that. And I mean, I'm not talking about the revenue side, that was still thriving, but as far as a product that no one had done before and innovated, I still felt kind of stuck. And I had heard about live resin and freezing fresh frozen flower, and back then it was insane.
When was this?
I want to say 2014. It was 2014 because by 2015 we were already branding, so 2014, it was just insane to me to think about freezing fresh frozen weed, but it was exciting. Most people you said that to were like, you're not fucking my crop up, you know what I mean? We dry it, we hang, we have our traditional way of doing things. So I had started putting my ear to the ground, and there was a couple guys in the county, in Humboldt County, that were extracting and trying the live resin. One of them was Southern Humboldt concentrates, and I started poking around and kind of getting some tech, and I was like, I want to try this. I want to try it. I want to freeze some flour and put it in. And it wasn't the tech or the knowledge that was hard to acquire. It was the balls to take your crop and freeze it and put it in there, And once that initial step was taken, it was all uphill it was all downhill from there. And so basically, I took some, I want to say Venom OG, or it was just some OG strain, and then I had Skittles as well at the time, and I had just got it, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do something like exotic. I'm not just gonna freeze the Blue Dream and try the live. I'm gonna try something like exotic and see how this comes out. So we froze it, we stuck it in the column, and we gave it a blast, and we kind of made live resin shatter. It came out insane color, crazy odor on it, and but it was stable, It kind of like hardened. But we also, our oven tech and everything was a lot different. We were on this purge. I think temperatures were high, so it lended itself a lot more to creating shatter. But the smell and the flavor of it was just unreal. It was like nothing else that had been created. And so at that, we definitely weren't the first, but we were in the first handful of people that tried it. And then at that point, everyone started, kind of pushing the envelope and innovating that live resin idea. And I came up with the idea to brand it because I was like, man, we're innovating this. We're pushing this culture, and it's a brand new product, and everybody that's doing it is right in this county or around it. So in a way, you're a council. We're a council. We're coming together. We're deciding what's good. We're sharing tech. We're running it, and then we're pushing those flavors. So that's kind of where I came up with the name to start branding it. I was like, oh, we could be Humboldt Terp Council, you know, and there was other people starting to brand. It was a very scary thing to do at the time because it wasn't legal, you know what I mean? And so it was pretty much like flying in the face of everything you've learned previous to, you know, cultivating and extracting. So once that happened, all the gloves came off, so to speak, and it was the threat of the looming recreational legalization that honestly was a catalyst. It motivated us to keep moving because our idea was if we start branding now, there's no doubt it's going to go legal. Like then we can kind of just transition. But that's where we got on our me personally as, you know, a concentrate maker and a brand builder. That's where it all started, and those are the reasons why. Legalization, pushing a new product, innovating something that hadn't been done, and I kind of wanted to be in the forefront of that. And I had the knowledge, I had the ability, definitely had the material.
Yeah.
So it all just kind of came together. And then after that, I was hung up on quality. You know, I wanted to push quality. I wanted to have things that were just exciting, shocking almost to people when they tried them and opened them up. And that gave me kind of that, you know, motivation as far as like approval, you know, coming for it. So yeah, after that, it was just a matter of, you know, getting material. Some things worked, some things didn't. We've always been huge supporters of all hash, you know, solventless, solvent, anything like that. I've always been behind it, and I've never been really one guy or a guy to subscribe to one or the other and say one's worse than the other. I think there's no good or bad. There's just pros and cons for your situation. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the way I've always looked at it through extraction. And you know, it just evolved. You just keep doing it. You find something you're passionate about. And that was another thing that drove me is I never got tired of it. I always was excited. I always had, you know, like that Christmas morning look when I would smell a new jar, or I would see crystals crashing, or I would see someone that got a jar and, you know, just really appreciated the work and the packaging and the presentation of the concentrate. That all those things really played into my my kind of worth as a brand and an extractor. It made me feel good, and it just kind of motivated me. I felt that was as much of a part of it as the financial part, you know. And they always say, you know, if you do something you like, you'll never work a day in your life. And as far as the things I'd done up to that point, it was about the most powerful that I'd engaged in. So, you know, after that, you just extract, you build relationships, and we tried to win contests and innovate, you know. And as it's been interesting to watch because it's just it's blown up really fast, and to know that you were part of that is gratifying, you know. And it's not necessarily always the most gratifying thing in public. You know, you don't want to be the first or the last to do anything because you just get forgotten about, you know what I mean? But at the same time, that's maturing, you know, too. And as you mature with anything, you have to understand, you know, that you need to mature as a business or as a person or anything, and understand your phases you go through. You're not always going to be the most popular, hottest, you know, brand, but you get your, you know, SOPs down, you complete your goals and you achieve them, and that's what you have to offer and give, and you have to kind of be confident in that, and not always be hung up on you know what the scene is doing or what the coolest guy out is doing. It's more about, you know, being true to yourself and your ideals with cannabis and what you're trying to do with it. And we've always, you know, been under the paradigm of quality, you know, flavor, kind of new innovative products, but also helping people too. That was one of the best side effects that I didn't see coming, were all the sick people that you can help, and the people that would buy our product and be like, man, you know, I've got 40 surgeries and nothing else seems to help, and the pain meds are killing me, and your extracts, you know, really help that. And then we've always used all our byproducts, and my partner has made RSO, and we've given that away, and that's just exponential. We never promote any of that or put any of that up front, but that has been a huge catalyst, because now you add that kind of moral value to what you're doing, and that for me, it gives me goosebumps. It's the it's the circle. It's the full circle of what you're doing, because now you're helping people. You feel good. You're motivated as a human with the work you're doing, and you're successful. It's just like, what more can you ask for?
That's fucking huge. I didn't know that.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. And honestly, it's fun to look back on it all, because it's just kind of a blur, and you never look up because you don't want to fail, and you don't want to let anybody catch up to you, and you just want to keep pushing forward. And then one day you realize, like, oh, okay, I can coast a little bit and be proud of what I've done and learned, and try and help people. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
Was there a market for what you were doing back then? Because the time frame that you're talking about, I didn't even fucking know that existed.
There was, and it was niche, but at the same time, it was very powerful and strong in California, because there were a lot of shatter dabbers. There was, just the devices that you smoke concentrates on had evolved so fast, and that live resin pushed all of that innovation as well. So it was shockingly popular, like even when we launched at the Emerald Cup, and it was our first time ever releasing the brand and everything, and it was just rabid, the response, people lining up. It was more than just getting a concentrate. It was like, okay, this flower has never been run into this form of concentrate before. We want it. There's a limited amount. People were really, really hungry to kind of get a hold of that, and I still think they are. I just think the laws and the people that are involved have fragmented a lot of that, and I think it's going to come back and rejoin itself. It just kind of needs to mature and kind of find its way, the cannabis industry as a whole, and the legacy and the kind of current people that have come in. They all need to kind of combine and blend and realize they both have things to learn on both sides to offer, and to make it go there again, it's going to take all that work. But there was a huge demand, and you find with concentrates like anything else, you need multiple flavors to push your menu. There's always something that doesn't sell, as well as in anything. And so that's where all the kind of marketing and business strategy came in. And you have your self-taught things, and you've dealt with a self-regulated kind of underground economy before, but when it comes into traditional business practices and ethics, it was a learning curve, and if at the end of the day, if anything, I've got a master's in business just from giving it a shot. So those are things that I'm definitely thankful for, and it was cool to see the consumer in concentrates innovate as fast as they did, because the second there was the shatter thing, and there were the dishes, and then there was the titanium nails, then it went ceramic, then it went quartz. Now people are timing it. They've got super high-end American-made quartz. They've got thousands and thousands of dollars put into their dab rig. It's a huge culture that's taken on a mind of its own, and live resin definitely pushed that into where it is now. And the solventless revolution now is happening, and now we're kind of all seeing it go full circle again, where everybody's running solventless, and they're just saying, look at this 1,000,000 grams I got, and that 1,000,000 grams, and it's just like, it's fun to see cycles happen, I guess, and to be around long enough to see it, and then to also kind of guess where it's going to go, because that's the hard part.
Where do you think it's going to go?
I poke fun and make little jokes. I think with anything, just knowing what I know about business, when you overproduce something and there's more production than demand, that you're gonna lower the price, and you're gonna saturate the market, and you open up the door for cheats and lower quality and all of those things. And we saw it happen with BHO, and that's one thing that I've always prided myself in, is I don't care what other people think. I don't care if you think it's cool, if it's not. We always just pushed our goal and our kind of focus on making a quality product and letting the plant decide. If this hash comes out better with a solvent, it comes out better with a solvent. You can't deny it. And the thing that legalization has allowed us to do is have very in-depth testing. So we know it's clean. We know we've tested this. This is a product that you can see the residual solvents in it. It's no longer just some dangerous product you don't know what you're putting in your body. So what I'm trying to say is hash, and some things are better with solvents, some things are better with solventless, sometimes it's better with both. And I think if you have an approach that has integrity, you're transparent, those things are obvious, and the benefits of both are obvious. You know, it's when people start to exploit things, they give people inferior products, they cheat people, and they lose consumer confidence, and they move to a direction that they're protected in. You know, like, oh, well, I don't want dirty, you know, solvent-filled BHO that can hurt my lungs and this and that. Well, that's only if somebody were to be doing you dirty, you know. So they're almost like traumatized, and I want all the people who've been traumatized to heal and come back to themselves.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You know, but I think we're going to see a crash in the solventless market. I mean, right now I'm predicting a shortage of flour in a way, good flour, and an overabundance of concentrates, because there's a lot less flour on the market this year because people froze their whole crop.
Right.
You know, and one thing I don't know that people take into account is there aren't a lot of dabbers out there.
That's a niche market itself.
It is.
It's like 3% of the fucking market in Michigan.
Yes, and it's powerful. It's strong. It's overwhelming. You know, it's a very medicated state of mind, and your tolerance is high. Everything. So it's definitely niche, and you know, you can be happy you're making 9 million grams, but who's gonna smoke it all?
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's something you have to be mindful of, and you know, that's it, with the way I think about it, with the quality angle, it lends itself to, you know, like sustainability, because you're not going to sell the most, you're not going to sell the least, but you're going to get a cult following almost. People that are into it, they want quality, they trust your brand, they're going to go, it's going to be a go-to. So I think if you stay consistent, don't overproduce, use your business acumen, and you know, produce the best product you can. And that being said, we all have substandard product. You have byproduct. You have products that don't come out as well. And pricing. It's just all about pricing,
right,
because there's all levels of everything.
Right. There's a market for that.
Yes. And it's the people that are like, oh, well, you know, we only make gold, and so this is it. You know, just be realistic and provide the consumer with what they can afford at the quality level that it's at. I think you'd be successful.
Yeah, somebody will be stoked to get that. Fucking B product that you put out.
Exactly, and I might not be the best guy to ask about it. I'll just be like, hey, you know, no, this isn't for this situation, but do something with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'll help you with the packaging or
Right.
something. So that's a big part of it too, man, is realizing that you're not the market, you know? And just because you don't like orange or haze or citrus doesn't mean, you know, a big part of the market does. And I've been kicked in the nuts 10 times till Sunday just being wrong about things. Like, oh, well, no one likes citrus or Jack or Trainwreck. And then you look and it's a hugely popular strain variety in the recreational market. Yep. But then my little business light goes on and goes, well, what if you're a haze lover in the trap? Where do you go?
Right.
There isn't anything. So where do you go? The dispensary. So we've effectively funneled all the haze lovers into the dispensary. So you better have some of those flavors on your menu. And I might not smoke them, you know, I might not, but that doesn't matter. I'm not the market. And that's been a big coming of age for me, and just being able to step back enough and be like, okay, dude, what you like isn't what everyone likes. Just make sure it's quality, build everything out smart, and go from there, you know?
Took your ego out of it. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, especially when it's all built on that. But, you know, what's more, you know, prideful than your success? And when you start to realize, like, dude, your ego can get in the way of you being successful. You need to be realistic, and yeah, that's important in business.
Yeah. What you guys have done kind of flies in the face of what's like the traditional model right now, which is the vertical model. A lot of people say it's the only way to be successful in cannabis right now. The markets are way down. You have to control the margin from seed to sale.
Sure.
You guys built a business. You built a brand that just does extraction.
Sure.
You don't control your inputs, right? You're buying flour from people.
Yeah.
You don't have a stable of regular things
like
that you
a
put
commodities
out.
situation. Yeah, and that, you know, that was the model in the 215 era, though, is like, hey, I have this crop. Hey, I'm gonna freeze it. Let's do a split. I'll brand it, give you the money, or give you the branded jars. And you know, and as legalization happened and things progressed, you realize, oh man, like, I've got to pay someone to package, distribute, you know, I've got to pay somebody to at the retailer, all these other things you outsource, and when you add all that up in your cost of goods, you're like, holy smokes, we've got a lot of middlemen, and so I used to like to say we're too small to fail, kind of, because when the wind got strong and the rain was busting down, we just closed the hatches, kept producing enough to keep the lights on, and then came back out of the dark, and I think by picking quality only and being very careful, and how we survived, I think, is when you see our brand logo, you're not going to get screwed over. You're going to get a quality product that's consistent with what we've released before, and all these other people kind of they followed that up to a point, but the first bad run they had, they stuck it in their jar and they screwed everybody. And so we avoided that at all costs, and I think at the end of the day it saved us. And also producing that higher level quality extract with farms that were popular, strategic alliances, strategic partnerships, that was a huge part of it, because when you can acquire unique flower, unique flavors, forge relationships with breeders, forge relationships with influencers, all those people can give you opportunity that aren't afforded to everyone else. So that was a huge part of it, so strategic alliances. And then also, to be 100% transparent, the Skittles strain and the Skittles fam have pretty much carried us through a lot of it. And that was kind of just blind luck that strain happened to evolve, and I happened to come across it early on in its life, and started producing concentrates at a time where I was able to form a partnership with them, and that gave me opportunity in terps and flavor varieties of flower that no one else had, and it made us valuable, and then it allowed us to win some contests and competitions, and that definitely puts you on the map, and that's kind of getting lost as we keep moving on, because the contests, these people that put these contests on try and exploit you so hard. They just want you to spend all this money with the entries and this and that, and then they neck down the event. And it used to be about showing up, competing, getting something you wanted, seeking out some seeds. It was this cultural kind of farmer's market, so to speak. And now it's more like, how big can your brand get? How big is your signage? How much are you going to pay to be in the front? Right. And then we'll cram you all in a theater and give you a little trophy. So it's become pay to play, and I feel like we've never done that, so it enabled us to kind of sustain the bad weather.
At what points did you guys have that bad weather? Is that Prop 215 or is that rec market?
Well, when the rec market started, you have to source flower from recreational farms,
right. And
there was no good quality material to run into hash at first, and
right.
It was really hard, and we took on a lot of toll processing situations or things to stay alive, and we weren't finding anything that was good enough to put in our jar, and we didn't want to go outside of our sources, so we had to kind of slow our production, pick and choose, cut a lot of stuff that we couldn't use, and kind of wait for people to come into the light, get their
right.
Licenses.
Because the people that you were fucking with were not doing
exactly.
it. A lot of people were hesitant.
Oh yeah, and the last thing we were ever gonna do was break any kind of rules, because we are a one-trick pony. We have an extraction license. If we mess that up, we have nothing. So we were never the guys to fly outside of the or color outside of the lines, because we were too scared to lose everything we worked for. So I would say the number one thing is pushing quality, never putting something bad in our jar, and strategic alliances, and luck, to be honest. And I live, eat, and breathe, that lifestyle. It's what I do. I get up every day, I push hard, whether it's Sunday, Wednesday, it's always the same to me. I'm thinking, I'm pushing, I'm trying to innovate, and I think that has a lot to do with the success, is not giving up, because if you look at the internet or you open that up every day, you can deflate your balloon in one post, and you see other people do the same things, you get copied, you get brands. I mean, there was brands that came out with the exact same names, just changing the town and use it. I mean, it's crazy.
Humboldt Schmerp Council.
Yeah. There's just tons of roadblocks and things that can discourage you, but at the end of the day, you just got to do what you love, and I don't have a choice. It's my lifestyle I picked.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep doing it, you know, and whether I'm behind a brand or I'm behind a different brand or I'm just growing in a freaking garage somewhere, it's something that speaks to me. I feel like it's pretty much saved my life, and I enjoy it. You know?
Yeah, that's good shit. Something that was interesting there for me is this, like, you know, we here have made a decision that we're gonna operate within the rules 100%.
Yeah.
It's not the case in a lot of Michigan. The state has taken a hands-off approach to regulation. I spent so many fucking years looking in my rearview mirror.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that shit anymore.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so, if you're following the rules in a down market, you're getting punished a little bit.
Yeah.
But like what you're saying is that you did that, and it served you well in the long run.
Sure, it did, and it's ironic because, you know, we've had several deals come and go that we didn't ever take part in, and we'd even been looked into before. Like, they'd called old employees and been like, "Oh, did you ever see them backdoor any product or do any of this?" And I'm just thinking, how funny is that? The people who are asking are doing it, and the people that aren't, they're actually looking into to see if they're doing it, you know. And so more than anything, it's like you said, it kind of just makes it so you don't got to look over your shoulder, you know. And when you've put your blood, sweat, and tears and personal finance and time and everything into building something, the last thing you want it to be is to be taken away over just some bullshit, you know. And so that fear, it has always been with us, and we're, you know, so us being a one-trick pony and only doing extraction, that it's kind of enabled us to, like I said, we're too small to fail. We can just shut it down, kind of float around, do some toll processing, keep pushing the brand, and you know, BHO had lost its popularity. We've been doing rosin for a long time too, but it's a battlefield out there, and there's new brands popping up every day. There's guys with money that come in, they want to take your shine, they want to shut you down, and if I'm just super happy with ever even being involved, you know, and to be still around and in the space is just a bonus, really. Overall, it's one of those things where it just keeps growing, and you're just like, okay, well, I guess I'll keep working on it.
Yeah. Something that I've always thought about, I like history, and so I've read a lot about Prohibition, time after Prohibition, how the alcohol industry evolved. And so I've always been proud that I was part of both, right? Prop 215,
Sure.
And then the evolution of the rec market. But I've never done anything fucking groundbreaking, right?
Right.
You know, I was just kind of a fucking farmer in the hills for a while, and now I'm a vertical operator in Michigan.
Sure.
You guys did something that was like groundbreaking. That's fucking...
It was, but at the same time, we were building off the backs of you know, people that had really innovated it and really like done the initial steps. But it's funny when you have a community like Humboldt, or in Mendocino and Trinity, the Emerald Triangle, everyone was kind of working together to begin with. And what I mean by that are genetics, or, you know, sharing different crosses, or, you know, different growing techniques, or different, you know, tech. All those things were kind of used as catalysts, and people would say, oh, well, you know, Jim's over here and he used this guano. And he's like, oh, really? Well, I mixed it with this, and it worked better. And say, bam. So then that guy would go off, and then he would come back. And that's kind of how it went with the extraction, is people were openly kind of saying, hey, I did this and I did that. Are you down to do this? You know? And so you kind of all push it together, and it wasn't just one, you know, guy that like did everything, you know, and invented everything. So if anything, I would say that we were probably more instrumental in the branding part, and getting a kind of successful concentrate brand that was exciting, it was hip, it was popular. You know, I feel like we were definitely in the forefront of that. And but as far as like the very first live resin producers and things, you know, we're on the short list, but we definitely used other people's knowledge and know-how to get to that point. You know? So the biggest achievement for me though was Skittles. That strain always, it kind of pulled me into the exotics and just what cannabis can provide as far as like just unrivaled flavor and smells and things that are just unique out of to any plant or product on the planet, and that's what got me into it. And then to form an alliance with the guys at Skittles Fam, and then to win the Emerald Cup with them, that was like life goal shit for me, you know,
Yeah.
to stand on stage with those guys that I actually used to go in to the farmers markets and wait in line to get their stuff, and then to actually, you know, win with them and with that strain and everything. I felt like I had like completed life at that point as far as
That's huge.
cannabis. Yeah. So in those ways, yeah, we're definitely innovative, but I don't think we did anything that everyone else wasn't doing. We just kind of stepped out and said, hey, look at what we're doing. You want to buy some?
Yeah, well, I mean, like the branding portion of it is, I think about like what Burner started doing like back in the day.
Yes.
You know, just making signs, you know, at the green door, right?
Yeah.
And noticing that the weed that he made a colorful sign for and named it, that shit sold way better.
Yeah.
That's innovative. He noticed that, and then he branded his strains, right?
Sure.
And what you're talking about is branding too, and that's everything now.
Yeah.
Right.
It is.
I made a post on LinkedIn the other day where I listed like 5 things that I learned. It's like the first thing is that brand is everything.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah.
if you don't have a brand, you might as well take your fucking ball and go home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then to me, after that, it's retail because you have to have the demand. But
Sure.
how'd you guys build that brand? How'd you market it? Like this is not something that you can fucking easily post on Instagram.
No, it was just blood, sweat, and tears, man. I would go to LA pop-ups. I would go to the secret sessions. I would drive to 215 clubs, and I would tell them what I had. I would explain it to them. I would show it to them. I would drop samples off. It was organic, man. It was just going to, you know, event. Dream Sesh was a big one. The Emerald Cup, LA events, just pop up after pop up, and back then there wasn't a ton of people, you know.
Right.
So you kind of went up on this board and of just people to check out, and we were also lucky enough to launch our brand with Stravinsky, which was a big deal, and that was due to alliances and things that I had. So we definitely did it right as far as like used genetics that were well known, people that were well known, and then just pushed quality. But the marketing, yeah, the colors were always a big part of our marketing. I wanted to push as many colors.
Shit is vibrant.
Yeah, and I wanted to get in people's faces. I wanted it to pop. We started side wrapping the jar, the Marone jar. That was one of our innovations. We're definitely in the first handful of people to do that, if not the first. And that now it's like standard, more in the trap than in the rec market, just because of all you know the packaging.
Yeah.
Snafus you can get into, but sometimes it takes something like this for me to even sit back and look at what's happened, to be honest, because you're just like, wow, I've just been trying to hang on to the balloon as it rises.
Yeah.
And when you look down, you're like, oh my God, it used to, it's come a long way, and it's a blessing to even have anything to do with it,
Yeah.
anything to say about it.
It's important to fucking look back at what you've done because you get
It
so
is.
caught up in the day to day. I don't know about you, but like I might tell somebody, oh, we got a license, and they're like, oh, that's fucking awesome. They get all excited. Like, I don't really get excited about it. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like just another day, and we got some financing. Well, whatever. It's on to the next thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's always so much shit to do.
Yes.
You don't get to stop and celebrate small wins.
No, it's on to the next task.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, you can put a flag in that one
Yeah.
and keep moving forward. But I think that's that motivation and just that fortitude that you need as a businessman and to be successful. And that's honestly a good thing, when you think of it like that. But to reflect is important because we all know how hard it is to get a license and all the hoops you have to jump through and all the regulation and the compliance. And it seems so overwhelming, and all you want to do is just achieve that. And then once you've achieved it, boom, you're just like nothing. Put it in the drawer and get the next thing. Yeah, man, you gotta pat yourself on the back now and then because it's not easy and not everyone's doing it. Just the other day, I was telling Calvin and Tyler, I was telling them both. I was like, man, you guys are very lucky. You are blessed, even if it doesn't seem like it. You are in the forefront of this industry. This industry is moving across the country. It's innovating every day. There are not a lot of people that have your job, and so with the ups and downs of the financial part of it, pay yourself in knowing that, pay yourself in knowing that there's not a lot of people doing what you do. You are pushing something forward that is going to change every day and become bigger than you could ever imagine. And that's what's motivated me, and I get a lot of value out of that, just realizing that. So I'd like to tell people that too. It's just, it's a little more motivating. But yeah, it's a wild ride, man. It's interesting to see where it's going to go. I think we're seeing the thinning of the herd a lot now. You know,
Yeah,
a lot of people are falling off, and it was funny. My phone opened up this morning, and there was somebody had did a little montage of big brands in the mall that have gone away.
Yeah.
And you start looking at them, like, oh, I remember that. That was the biggest, most popular thing since sliced bread, and it's gone, you know. And it was just one after the other, all the way through Montgomery Ward and all these other things. And I'm like, okay, you know, people forget about them just as fast as they hype them.
Yeah.
So enjoy it while it's here, you know, and
For
do
real.
the best that you can, I think.
One of my favorite things about what we're doing is watching the people evolve, like seeing what you guys are doing at the farm right now, watching how much Tyler and Bubs have learned even before you came along, but then now you came along and installed, you know, some of the knowledge that you and Trevor had from California.
Sure.
And it really accelerated what those guys are doing.
Yeah, that's been awesome because of Trevor and I's relationship goes back so far, and he honestly was involved with the story that I'm telling now, and he was able to kind of see everything happen, and then to come and kind of share those things and offer what I have has been an amazing experience because the synergy is just there, the acceptance and the understanding and the leeway is there, and to see everything evolve the way it is, and just the standards go up and everybody like learn more, and it makes things more efficient. It's super rewarding, you know. It's fun. It's fun, and honestly, I never thought I would have, you know, those things to offer. It's neat when you just look back and be like, oh wow, these are.
Oh shit, I'm a fucking expert.
Yeah. Like, wait, how did that happen?
Crazy.
Yeah.
I was such a fuck up, and now I'm people want to talk to me.
Yeah. It's pretty cool, and at the end of the day too, it's something that we all enjoy, and it's exciting to talk about, and so we all landed in the right place, you know, and to have it be something that's positive and you know, actually a career is just super blessing. Super blessing.
You seem to have a really good grasp on the business side of things. One of the things that you know, sometimes when people come to the farm and they're really successful growers, extractors, they're really heady and speak Terpanese, and I can't really talk to them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Right.
There are guys who come to the farm to meet with Charlie.
Yeah.
And they're a high profile person. You know.
Yeah.
And I might stop by and say what's up, and I just kind of stand there on the outskirts of the
Sure.
conversation because I can't fuck with that. You know. I sit in this fucking office all week.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you are into the business side of things. And
Oh yeah, well, I definitely am, and because that's kind of where it started, you know, and it honestly it's just as fascinating to me, both sides, and I want to know what's going on so you can steer the ship too. But I'm more down to earth too, you know. I have a lot of like. I never get a big head really, because like I said, I'm just building off of what other people have done before and enjoying the ride. It's kind of like music, you know. No one writes a new song. It might sound new, it might sound innovative, but you heard something that built all that, and you're just reinterpreting it, and that's how I like to think of it. You know, I'm using what I've learned to the best knowledge and reinterpreting it, putting it out there for someone else to use. You know, that's really what because for personally it's just that synergy, and that the more you give, the more you get back, you know, and that's something that's not easy to do when you're so used to holding your cards close to your chest, coming from an underground situation, and when you just got to throw them on the table and let's be fully transparent. It's hard to do, but you realize it's how you reach those higher levels of success. You know, you get to a certain level, and then you wonder, well, how do those guys that are at the next level, how do they do it? You know, and I started realizing, well, you give, man. You don't get so hung up on taking. It's giving, and then the more you're open, the more that'll come back. And that's that level that's the hardest, because you've worked so hard to get all these things, and now what? You're just going to open them up, and so that I feel like is where I'm at now. You know, I'm trying to embrace those parts of life and give out as much as I can so I can receive more, and you know, just kind of enjoy some of the work that's been put in.
Yeah, providing value. That's fucking huge.
Sure.
I like it.
Sure.
It's interesting that what you guys were doing in Humboldt, you were really working together. A lot of the places that that was not the case. Everybody was really segmented and doing their own thing, and we were all having the same fucking problems on the hill, and nobody was helping each other.
Sure.
You know, we all had the same fucking bugs. We all had the same fucking blight.
Yeah. You know, it's like that too, and I think that's what's been hard for a lot of legacy farmers and extractors alike to come into the rec market, because they were so introverted, and they were like, okay, I should rephrase and just say, most of this innovation and things that were shared with people that like you. You know what I mean? Or that you're part of a circle, because you know, it's kind of the same reason why you see everybody with a Seed Junkie clone box in the bed of their truck being like, just got the new, and everyone you flip, it's the same guy.
Yeah.
It's because those guys aren't sharing what they're doing. They're back on their thing. They're still thinking of it as their kingdom, and they've got the newest, freshest stuff, but it's like they're not looking to their right or their left and realize, yo, we all got this stuff. Maybe we should get together and figure out if we can come up with something a little more, you know, proprietary.
Yeah.
And I think it's a double-edged sword. You know, it allows you to be more of an independent entrepreneurial type spirit, but at the same time, it closes you off to that innovation we're talking about, that sharing of knowledge and things. So Humboldt is like that, but it's not. We have both sides of it, you know, for sure. There's the hill, don't come in my gate, I don't want you to see what I'm growing type guy. Yeah. And that's pretty much the foundation. But the kind of knowledge and the tech is out there. It's accessible as much as it could be in anywhere else. You know, it's the only place really where there was a lot of weed being grown and it was innovating. So you can glean a lot of information from the area, but it was definitely still protected. You know, I relate with what you're saying. It's like everybody up there would have freaking mites, and then the one guy that has the cure will sell you mited clones. You know? yeah. So no, it's that way too. And like I said, I think that's been the trouble with a lot of people being able to make the conversion into this new market, is because they are not comfortable with sharing things. They're not comfortable with showing people their hand, and they just don't have the bandwidth. You get frustrated, or you tell somebody to screw off, or you know, you're just like, get out of my face, I've reached my limit. And you better work on all those things if you want to be in business. Yeah, because you can't just go smash somebody that, you know, owes you. You can't go burn their truck if if they messed pulling your tarps up or whatever. You know, there's no course of action like that left, and so you better learn how to be constructive and articulate and all of those things, man, because it's not the same ball game.
Evolve or die, right?
Yeah, you can hate yourself out of the game pretty fast.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people on LinkedIn that I fuck with from Humboldt, and there's this like kind of group that has evolved and gotten into the rec market, and either sold or gotten jobs at like corporate cannabis. Sure. And then there's this group of legacy growers that's actually on LinkedIn, which is interesting to me. Yeah. But just like, you know, it's impossible to get your COGS under $400 on outdoor flower. Right. I'm sorry, but it's not. It's not. You know what I mean? It's just not.
No, and they want you to think that for sure. And remind you, a lot of these guys have owner carry lease options with a balloon payment and just some wicked land evaluation, because when the money was dumping in, it didn't matter. And now they actually have to do some math and throw down their, you know, their numbers, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, it is impossible to get it under 400 if your land payment's $10,000 a month, you know, for fucking real. Few acres. So I think like I said, you got to be honest with yourself, man, if you're in business, and the numbers don't lie. And that is the rather than focusing on the fact that you can't get it below that, you better start focusing on how to get it below that. You know, I think in this kind of market, but no, I definitely relate with all those things. It's funny too, this technology and this social media and all this, it's pulled people in whether they like it or not, right? Because they want a voice, they want something to say, they need to interact, you know. Yeah. So man, now to touch on the traditional market and where that's going, that's a wild card, you know. I don't see it really affecting the recreational market as much as I think people say it is. You know what I mean? I think what's affecting it more is, like you said, are people that have the licenses that are operating like they don't.
Right.
You know, and I think that's more of the problematic situation. But it's an interesting industry we're in, because I don't know of any other one that had a self-regulated underground economy that went on for decades.
No.
And then crashed into a legal and then operated concurrently.
Right.
And honestly feeding off of each other. And so, I mean, even with Prohibition, you mentioned that, there was nothing like that. You know,
No.
You didn't have like the trap brands for their whiskey and things coming out. It was more like hijack that truck full of sugar, unload it in this grocery store, and let's distribute it out in the South or whatever.
Right.
You know, there's similarities, but there's a lot of things that are different too.
Yeah.
It's pushing it in a weird direction.
Yeah, and the ABC is so harsh on people who are just making, you know, like backdoor
Sure.
fucking down south fucking hill moonshine.
Sure.
That, you know, you can't really do that at scale.
No.
But people are growing at scale.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There's a massive oversupply.
Yes.
A lot of it comes from the black market.
Sure.
You know?
It does. And then, you know, the influx of people participating and then wanting out and just
Oh, yeah.
cutting and running and lowballing everybody.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and it just seems to never stop. It's just one year after the next. It's going to be hard because it's a lot harder to enforce, I think, as well. But you know, they're pushing the price down pretty far. It's getting pretty low. And if you think about, you know, your moonshine analogy, same thing happened. It just got pushed so
Right.
cheap. It's just not worth producing.
No. I mean, you can buy a bottle of whiskey for, well, I haven't bought a bottle of whiskey in like 11 years.
You can get one for damn near nothing.
Right? For real. Well, that was cool.
You got some content or what?
Oh, yeah.
How do I look?
Look, you guys have both looked great. Your position really well. It was about 15 minutes of talking about like recovery, and then we got not ready.
Oh, yeah.
We're at like an hour.
We kind of
We're at
slid.
hour 7 now, but so it's good.
We
I
did.
can chop that.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good. I got caught up in this fucking conversation about promo all day, so I wasn't paying attention.
What, do you think the black market just fucking goes on forever?
Bro, I mean, right now I'm feeling that.
Yeah.
And it's you know, this whole, you know, we've seen a huge uptick in resale in general with shoes, clothes, designer brands, and there's companies coming out with limited runs of things and dropping them. And so we have kind of a younger generation that's set up to resell.
Right.
You know, and with all the media access and editing software, and anyone can become an editor or a graphic design guy, and they push their art on a brand packaging that has a product inside of it that's desired in an underground capacity. I mean, how do you stop that?
No.
And because now you're seeing, you know, everybody's designs, everybody's art. You got Japanime, you've got, you know, everything on this branding, and it's just taken on a mind of its own. And the leeway is so much more out of the legal market, because they can do candy, they can do brighter colors, they can do whatever the fuck they want on there.
Yeah.
So I think it's going. That's a hard question to answer. But I think for now it's going to stay. But forever, I don't know, because if there can be a merger of these two, and kind of, if you know, the pricing, the supply, all of these things get to the right places, it's gonna, you know, the motivation to do it isn't gonna be there. I think that's what they're gonna try and kill. But as of now, man, it's a lot harder nut to crack than they thought. I think because anybody can grow, you know, or
Yeah.
anyone can extract, and like I said, there's access to branding, packaging, all of those things very
yeah.
easily. I mean, you can just use someone else's brand at this point,
Oh, yeah.
you know. So
much forgery going on.
yeah, we're probably going to see a renaissance of entrepreneurial youth, you know, is what I'm thinking. And honestly, I don't think it's a bad thing, because look at how everything's becoming corporatized. You know, strip malls and some mom and pops are getting shut out left and right. And we might see a resurgence or a renaissance, so to speak. But it's a fun thing to think about. But it's a hard one to predict.
It is a hard one to predict. I mean, for the black market to get washed out, prices in rec would have to go really low.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Really low.
That's the thing I don't like to think about.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think that's the strategy that's going to do it, you know. And I think they think it is.
Yeah.
I think they think that will stomp it all out. But you can produce cheaper small batch outside of a regulated, situation. So they're always going to have that leg up. I think what they're going to do is they're going to race to the bottom and realize they need to bounce up a little bit. And enforcement probably is the next hard line of defense, you know, is probably bolstering up bureaucracy, getting people in place to do raids, stop outdoor, indoor. I noticed in California they're starting to hit more indoors.
Are they?
Trying to, but I mean, they couldn't stop people from selling crack in the same neighborhood where they're doing the busts,
Right.
you know. So I don't know how that's going to fare, but there's going to be a lot of money spent and a lot of tax revenue collected trying. That's for sure.
I remember when people started like snitching on their neighbors.
Yeah.
And me thinking that was so fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck could you do that?
I know.
That was you last year.
Yeah.
You know, and then now I'm in the rec market and I'm like, you know, I don't have anybody to snitch on up here in northern Michigan.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it anyways. But, you know, I want that to stop happening because even in Michigan, the issue is not the caregivers, right?
Yeah.
It's not the traditional legacy market. It's the rec operators who are operating a black market on the side.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because if I have, you know, my bro grow with no licenses,
Right.
I still have the threat of the cops coming. If you have a license, you might get inspected.
Right.
They're not coming to fuck with you.
No.
You know, so it's honestly, the licensed grow is the new illegal grow.
Yep.
Because you don't have to look over your back. You get power cheaper. You've gotten all these things. So what more of a wrench can you throw into it, really? Because, I mean, if anything, that might be the self-fulfilling prophecy that stamps out the black market themselves, you know, because they keep backdooring things, and the new black market guy is going to be the legal operator.
Right. Yeah. It's a wild concept to consider.
It is, and there's so many variables. It's you might as well bet on who's going to win, you know, like the World Series next year already. It's gonna be tough. It's hard to predict. It definitely is, but you can get a good idea of the direction it's going to go. I think we're going to have another, you know, at least 3 years of just balancing and ebb and flow and just kind of coming to a place that works, you know.
You got any innovative products bringing to Michigan?
Oh, you know, I don't know. Nothing, man, nothing super crazy, honestly. It's kind of all been done, you know, but if anything, I think we can come up with some things that can be exciting, you know, and can be new to certain people. But I mean, as far as full innovation in products, I'm not sure what direction left there really is. You've got the cartridge, you've got the flower, you've got the concentrate, you've got the edible, you've got topicals. It's a hard one.
You need that new snorting one.
Yeah, right. The snuff.
The snuff.
The snuff, that would go too crazy.
You saw somebody did that. And
I
it
did.
fucking bombed.
Yeah, it was like, God, I totally remember. It was like CBD, right? Yeah.
There was a cannabis one, and my attorney actually recommended. He's like, "You guys should really do something that you can snort." And I'm like, I don't feel like that's a good one.
No.
That's not a good move.
No,
I
there's
looked-
too many people that are getting away from snorting.
Yeah,
They're over
right.
there.
I'm trying not to snort things anymore.
Yeah, it would do good at MJ BizCon.
Right.
Until they found out there was no cocaine in it.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. That was good. Right on, brother. I appreciate you coming. It was
You too,
a pleasure
Willie.
chatting with you.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a good time.
You know.